Welcome back, everyone. And a little late today. My apologies. I was actually feeling a little naughty, feeling a little Christmassy. It's a little early, but I need to kind of get through this. And I think my wife hooked me up. I wanted like a normal hat without this kind of like nonsense, naughty and whatever. But she hooked me up. Did and not in a good way. It's not anticipating. And I got the wrong camera tonight. Like everything is like I got better lighting, but that's kind of the cost of the better camera. So obviously I'm trying to adjust, firing and adjusting. So so we already got comments. Yeah. Hey Chester, good to see you, brother. All right. Yeah, we'll see. I did bad though. I'm wearing this thing. All right, so again, the usual welcome, everyone. Oh, I even have my like. Oh no, that didn't change. That's good. All right, so 3 things we're going to talk about today: upcoming episodes, state of the channel, disinformation in a skin suit. You probably I accidentally revealed my hand, during the intro as I was setting up, but yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about, and then usual Q&A. So. All right, so upcoming episodes, I have 5 in the, 3 in the hopper right now. I'm actively working on, and then there's 5 that'll be relatively ready. So, in terms of what you can already see them uploaded. I have another interview with Dr. Thigpen on UFOs and God, basically how ontological shock and whether or not that will affect the major world religions, all that good stuff. So I have another episode with him. I have another episode with Steve Bassett about kind of long-term implications of disclosure and kind of the lost century, basically, by keeping all this stuff quiet. The government's kind of wasted the lives of millions of people who could have contributed to getting people into space, but they chose to keep everything quiet. Anyway, I have 2 more episodes with someone named an experiencer. Her name is Persephone May Holloway. I'm currently working on those 2 episodes now. And I just did an interview with Dr. Julia Mossbridge, which was awesome. She is a fascinating expert on precognition. So I'm not going to say much more beyond that. I would show you the thumbnails, but there's only 2 to show, and I didn't get a chance to prepare them. So that is that. All right, state of the channel. I don't know if I even. I'm probably just going to skip this one. Although a few things to say. November was actually my best month ever. So thank you everyone from a metric standpoint. So thank you all for that. I think a lot of it was driven by the decision to cover some of the MH370. So folks who've joined as a result of that, thank you very much. Where I've always stood on that issue, and I don't want to get too much into it, but those episodes did incredibly well because there's a lot of interest in it. Where I've always stood on that issue is there's definitely something fishy, because I got a context warning when I put the thing up and all that stuff that the government does not want you to know. I'm 100% certain about that. But in terms of like what really happened, is the video real or not? During the interviews, I'm not a video expert, so I don't know. I'm not going to wade into that debate. I can find compelling reasons it could be either or. If it's fake, it's likely faked by the governmental agency as a red herring to have people go and look in the other direction. If it's not faked, if it's real, then there's other kind of crazy implications beyond that. But again, no idea, not going to waste bandwidth on it, and not really going to pursue further, because where there's smoke, there's fire, and it could have been, if I were looking for a mundane explanation, it could have been some sort of operation to repatriate the 8 Chinese scientists and 12 Malaysian scientists while making it look like they're dead, and then bringing them back in the United States, new identities, whatever. That would be the mundane explanation. Another mundane explanation is like a USS Stark scenario where somebody shot it down, a US weapon system accidentally shot it down. That could be some other implication, or maybe the US government took the flight out. And the reason, I've heard anecdotally that FBI agents were kind of, there was an FBI agent who was supposed to be on the flight. Suddenly he was notified, don't get on the flight, or he wasn't on the flight. I don't know why. And I'm not going to get into it further, but there's just some fishy stuff in there. It might be related to something related to the phenomenon, or it might be completely mundane, but either way, I'm not digging anymore. It's not, because if it's mundane, it's like something's not worth getting smoked over. Not that would happen, but still, it's just not. It's not. And then Ashton was on. He was on Alex Jones. That was surreal watching that 2 weeks after I interviewed him, and then he's going to be on the Timcast at some point. And who knows? For all we know, probably be on Lex Friedman, and then I doubt Joe Rogan will have him on. It's just too. It's too polarizing. People are either certain the videos are real, or people who are certain that the videos are not real. And I am not an expert. Okay. The other thing that happened too is Danny Jones featured Chris Bledsoe, and well, actually, no, that was this month. So December's already blowing up from that. People are just going back and doing searches for Chris Bledsoe. They're finding my episode and they're just piling on. As an example, I got 50 subscribers in one day yesterday. And that was my second best day ever. My best day ever was when I gave AJ $25 on the Y-Files. And I got 60 subscribers immediately from people just watching it coming away. So if you're, Y-Files folks if they found my channel that way, that was my best subscriber day ever. So that's the state of the channel. I'm not going to get too much into it. Normally I know I show my statistics, but I just want to get through it quickly. And I also don't want to mess up the flow for the next piece because I have to, get this information in a skin suit. So here we go. So this is what I'm talking about. All right. So this was Meet the Press on this past weekend, and I'm going to play a clip and then I'll comment, but I think y'all probably know where I'm going. So by the way, I'm just going to get Chester out there. Okay. All right. So let me know in the comments if y'all can hear this once I start playing. Let me see if I can. All right, here we go.
Some lawmakers have called for the declassifying and release of government information about UFOs, but this push for more government transparency remains an uphill battle. So joining me now is Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee. He's one of Capitol Hill's louder voices for increased government transparency around UFOs. And Garrett Graff, he's author of a brand new book, UFO, the inside story of the U.S. government's search for alien life here and out there. Welcome to both of you. Garrett, let me start with you. You spent a couple of years researching the government's history with UFOs, something the congressman's been trying to get the government to be more transparent about. So let me start with you. What is one thing you've learned about UFOs that the public doesn't know about?
Well, I think there are a couple of things that stand out for me right at the top here. The first, as you covered in some of the previous segment, that there is something real here. There are things out there in our airspace that we do not understand.
All right, let me stop right there. Okay. If I could run a poll, I would. Is this guy wearing a skin suit or what? Well, if I do the research, there's a 50% chance that it's going to be real, but we'll have to look into it. Maybe but let me look at this guy. He's got lipstick on, right? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but yeah, he just looks like he's wearing a skin suit. He comes out of nowhere, right? You have people like Richard Dolan, extreme scholarship on the phenomena, have dug into the history, know everything is. And this guy who, like 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have known him from Adam. Suddenly he's on Meet the Press. He's on like all these media junkets and things like that out of nowhere on this issue. Why does that happen? It's something the intelligence community calls strategic communications. And what strategic communications are is that you find a topic that you want to debunk or mislead the American people or present a certain narrative to minimize blowback on this whole push for disclosure. And if you're wondering, this guy's an Aspen Institute guy. He's rubbing elbows with those sorts of types, the kind of the elites. But he comes out of nowhere. He's not an expert on topic, and he writes this one book, first book ever on this topic, and it's everywhere. He's on all these. So clear, like shining red lights example of some form of strategic communication, wittingly or unwittingly. Like somebody might have whispered, "Hey, man, you should really get into this topic. We need more credible research on this area." Right. And they get him to write this book. He makes a ton of money. They push it through all the mainstream media sources, and you have official government propaganda. So let's listen to what he has to say. Give him the chance. But many of you probably already seen this. But let's just let him talk a little bit, and then we all make up our own minds. And I hope you can hear that, because nobody's complaining, so it must mean you can hear him.
Understand what they are. And that those could represent exquisite new adversary technology, but they could also represent science that we don't understand, atmospheric, meteorological, and astronomical science.
Okay. I need to stop there for a second. Okay, so the first thing he proposed is that an adversary has this technology. Are you out of your freaking mind? That is horrifying. If the Chinese or the Russians had things that could go from 80,000 feet to like zero and then submerge without kind of transmedium flight, persistence for surveillance, our planes can't remotely capture stuff like that. If that is the case, everybody in the entire defense establishment needs to be fired, because that is horrifying. They'll be out of their jobs because we might as well surrender right now. Why they keep posting this as a narrative is it's astonishing to me. It is absolutely mind-bogglingly astonishing that they would put out a narrative like that is extreme fear-based. If you were to say something like, these things have been here several million years or whatever, thousands of years, whatever the time period is, we don't know what they are, we don't know where they come from, but they haven't wiped out human civilization. That is actually more comforting than this narrative. But there he goes with it. Apparently some genius back at the Pentagon or Langley, Virginia, or somewhere else thinks that that's a good idea, thinks that's the approach we should take. The other thing they mentioned is he talks about weather phenomena. Okay, that's fair. Maybe there's some aspect of physics that we don't quite understand. But last thing I checked, weather doesn't behave like an intelligently piloted craft. It doesn't move around and respond in very kind of in ways that are indicative of something that has some form of sentience. Okay, so let's just give him a chance. But it's hard for me to watch this without losing my temper.
Science that we don't yet understand, and that I believe that the government is covering up some level of its knowledge and understanding about what some of those things are, both in terms of what chunk of that is our government's own secret development programs, planes, drones, new technologies that we're working on, as well as what we're sensing and detecting of advanced adversary technology, being tested against U.S. forces or around U.S. airspace. What I'm unconvinced of is that the government is covering up meaningful knowledge of, alien spacecraft.
Okay, I got to stop there for a second. Knowledge? Who uses knowledge? The word knowledge in a sentence. I look up knowledge, and like the first hit I get is Dollar General. Knowledge? I mean, the only thing that I see that comes up with doubt, maybe I have to be misspelling it. Anybody know what that word means? Anyone? Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's absurd. Knowledge. Can anybody tell me what knowledge is? I'm Googling like crazy. I can't find knowledge. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. Meaningful knowledge. I mean, literally, the first thing that shows up is the Urban Dictionary. A term of saying something is pretty yet retro. I'm pretty sure that's not what he means. Dollage. I mean, maybe he means that, but it doesn't. Maybe if I put dollage definition, I have to be spelling this thing wrong. I mean, there's no. Now it takes me straight to collage. Dollage definition. Come on, what are we? All right, I don't think I'm going to find it. Yeah, he doesn't bling. That's like apparently that's sociopathic behavior too. It can be. No, I got no help with knowledge. I can't find it. Maybe it's because I'm on camera right now and I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know, Secret Leader, if that's the case. I think. I mean, they already have an $800 billion budget, right? I think trying to get more money is not. I don't think that's an issue. Like all our money goes there, except for interest, which I think is now equivalent to the, almost equivalent or equivalent to the defense budget already, which is actually not a great sign. Yeah, I know Dullards means it, but he said dollage. Again, I don't know how to spell it, but it's like DOLLAGE. I could be completely wrong, but literally, I'm gonna rewind, and we're gonna have him say this absurd word again. Here we go.
What I'm unconvinced of is that the government is covering up meaningful knowledge of, alien spacecraft, alien visitors, extraterrestrial contact. I just don't see the extraordinary evidence or the fingers of the cover-up that one would expect if that was in fact the case.
What do you make of the newfound interest? It appears that government is on being a tad more public.
What age are we living in? One can be as free as one likes without guilt or confession. I know exactly.
Is this an acknowledgement? Maybe they need the scientific community's help?
Yes, and I think part of the shame of this, and I think this is part of where the congressman agrees on as well, the government should be more interested in this than it has turned out to be over recent years. And I think part of what you have seen is this shift since 2017 that serious people are talking seriously about this in national security circles in Washington and on Capitol Hill.
Congressman, you've pushed this issue a little bit. Curious why? What got you started on this issue?
Transparency. Since 1947, they've told us these things.
All right, Burchett, I'm not going to mess with Burchett because Burchett is
a very well funded.
It's a national hero.
Dollars towards research of it, and they spend a whole heck of a lot of time, effort, and money on telling the American public they don't exist, but yet they're studying. Case in point, I proposed an amendment to the FAA reauthorization bill, and it basically just said if a commercial airline pilot were to spot some anomaly, or UFO as we used to call them, and they would issue a report to the FAA, which they would.
Yeah, there aren't many of those left, by the way.
Well, it was blocked.
They just don't exist.
Told me that it was blocked, and I said, "Why was it blocked?" He said, "The intelligence community blocked it." And I said, "Wait a minute, you mean the committee?" And he said, "No, the community."
What does that
mean? I know you mean Garrett Graff.
Look, I've been in Washington a long time.
Because I know you mean Garrett Graff.
Some people might say
the timing isn't perfect.
I know you.
You're still a young man.
There's a part of me that says, well, this is just what the intel community, even if they don't know something, they're afraid of admitting what they don't know. How much of this stonewall is that, do you think?
I think there's quite a bit of arrogance, but there's also a compartmentalization. You got to realize I'm from Knoxville. Oak Ridge National Lab backs up to my back door.
Right. You're well aware of national security issues.
I am. And you figure during the atomic bomb, several thousand people worked there, yet maybe 12 knew about what they were actually working. Yeah. I mean, husbands and wives didn't know. I've talked to several people in my campaigning, knocking on doors. Yeah. They tell you that they didn't know that their wife was working on the fuse and they were working on an electrical component of the bomb. But You fast forward now. We have these committees. We had Intelligence Committee had their first open committee last year on this issue. And they brought in 2 people that were supposed to be overseeing it, I guess, for the Pentagon. Those guys couldn't even spell UFO. I mean, they had no knowledge.
I think he's talking about Moultrie and
we're spending billions of dollars. We give the Pentagon billions of dollars. They cannot account for 50% of their assets. And what do? We rewarded them with, I think, 20 or 40 billion new dollars this year.
Let me ask you this. You've said that this is a worldwide phenomenon, and we know there are multiple militaries. What would an international investigation look like on this? How could because it certainly would help the scientific community.
I think so, but I think the scientific community is kept out. And when they're brought in, it's just for dollars. Right now, because of people like yourself and NBC and others in the national media are putting this out because they realize over 55% of the people believe there's something else out there. I have a T-shirt I sell on my website. More people believe in UFOs than believe in Congress. I mean, it's the truth, brother. You and I both know it, and that's why they don't come to Washington, because there's no intelligent life down here. But it's just if it doesn't exist, then why do they keep spending the money to tell us? And
secret leader, that's a reasonable. Actually, that's a reasonable inference.
Ukraine. If it's China, they'd own us even
sure.
more. And if it's us, why have we had 14 documented near misses with $50 million aircraft and some of the best trained pilots in the world?
Garrett, have you uncovered, who are the world's leading experts at trying to provide some explanation?
I don't think this guy is going to answer this question. I don't think he can.
Well, there are people who are working on exactly the question that you just started to touch on, which is, what would a serious hunt for UFOs and UAPs actually look like?
Processing
and a big
0
part of it,
1 1
which you
0
saw
0
come
0
up in
1
the
1 1
summer's
0 1
congressional
0
hearings as well, is the need to move away from human witnesses who are just terrible witnesses, as anyone who
crime scenes.
Police
We know this about this.
Investigated a crime scene or a car accident knows, and move to something that's more sensor-based and instrument-based. And so along those lines, there's a project called the Galileo Project, which is led by the chair of the Harvard Astronomy Department, Avi Loeb, who has built this fall the first UAP observatory on the roof of the Harvard Astronomy Building in
out of
Cambridge,
nowhere, and he's like talking about this stuff.
It is better understand, what's up there on a daily basis. Because part of the challenge of identifying what's anomalous is understanding better what is normal. And we don't even have a particularly good baseline of understanding what's up in the sky on a normal basis, which you saw in this winter.
Hold on. He literally said, understanding what is anomalous requires understanding what is normal. What the hell does that even mean? Like, how do these people get on television in front of several million people? Like, who vets them? It feels like the Oompa Loompas and the freaking lollipop factory, like, just signs off on these people. It is unreal to me. Yeah. I mean, like, and it's not like he needs to rehearse being on national television. He needs to rehearse being human or convincing people that for all I know, this might be an AI algorithm. They just popped in and they're like, let's just test the American people and see if this guy can, if this algorithm can confuse anybody. All right, let me go back and keep this thing going.
Chinese spy balloon flap, where it turns out if you set the NORAD radar slightly differently, we start turning up a lot of weather balloons that we panic and then send up the world's most advanced fighter to shoot down with a $250,000 missile, something that turns out to be a weather balloon from the Northern Illinois Balloon Brigade Meteorology Club.
Garrett, how come NASA doesn't find anything with satellites before it enters our atmosphere?
Well, so some of this is also, part of what is fascinating about the science of this is extraterrestrial craft could be passing all around us all of the time, and we don't have the technology adequate to notice that effectively any civilization that would have mastered interstellar travel would probably be moving at a fraction of the speed of light. We don't have effectively any technology that would notice something moving at the fraction of the speed of light through our own solar system that was smaller than a football field.
So, Congressman, let's play the logic game here. If there is an alien life that comes here, they're more advanced than we are.
Sure.
I can't. I mean, like, Congressman, let's play the logic game here. What are we gonna play? Like romper room? Like, are we gonna play Monopoly? Shoots and ladders? Like, people get to be on national television. Like, is the test like your IQ has to be within a narrow range? It can be above 100, but it can't be above 110. Like, he's like talking like he's Mr. Rogers. Like, I'm sorry for the rant, but my Lord. Yeah, exactly. When you actually like parse what he's actually saying, you realize it's just like words. It's just words.
It's a scary proposition, right?
Travel light years.
Exactly. So how should this be viewed? How should government prepare? And is this worth the money to prepare to deal with something like this?
I don't know about preparing. It's just being transparent. You know, the vastness of God's great universe. Every night I go out and look at the stars, and the light from those stars literally left there before the time of Christ.
Right.
And I mean, some of those stars don't even exist anymore. If we're dealing with some technology that can fly these light years at these incredible speeds, you know, if they wanted to do us in, they'd have already done it. And I just think we are trying to overprotect our public, and our public wants to know what's going on.
Are there more ways you can tie the hands of the Pentagon to be more transparent?
Yeah, if we had more people in Congress with some guts.
I would have used the word balls.
This bipartisan caucus is growing.
Agree with the sentiment.
My buddy Jared Moskowitz, he's there, and you know, it's Republican and Democrat. It's not a bipartisan situation. Not on this one. We know the Pentagon has got their hands in this, and we just want to. The American public needs to know.
Congressman Tim Burch, Republican from Tennessee. Garrett Graff with his terrific new book. Garrett, man, you have some great selections in books that you write. This is a terrific topic as well. Thank you, sir. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to be completely honest with you all. I almost vomited a little bit with that last comment. Like I almost threw up. I think I threw up a little in my throat. It's just like it's the way the whole like system works. You have these midwits who are just talking smoothly and robotically and just putting out a bunch of BS. So, you know, they're putting, you know, they're just putting the usual stuff out there. So just know why it is. But whenever you see somebody who comes out of nowhere with a book on various topics, gets immediate press coverage, didn't earn that press coverage, didn't do anything to merit having him exposed to a national audience, that is always a clear sign that somebody is in the midst of a disinformation campaign. And that's what it is. So whether it's witting or unwitting, you might not know, but that's just how this stuff works. And he gets all these like plaudits in the Wall Street Journal and New York Times and all this stuff, and it's just I'm not going to say any of those words out loud, but yeah, it's almost like he could just, you know, as soon as the interview was over, he just like, if you've all seen that series in the 80s called V, it's just like he would just peel off his face and like the reptile would be underneath it. And I would not be surprised or shocked at all. His first name is Garrett and his last name is Graff. So, you know, you have a nice creepy alliteration just to go along with everything. Yeah, it's just the usual nonsense. That stuff falling all over the place here. Driving me nuts. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Anyway. It's two. I think it's two Fs. In fact, I can double check. It's two Fs for sure. Oh, I have thoughts, but I'm not going to say them online, and I'm certainly not going to say them on YouTube. Yeah, Chester knows what I'm talking about. I've reached out to him. I've gotten a response saying like, we're busy this. I mean, I think in order to interview Richard Dolan, you have to have over, I don't know, a much higher number of subscribers than I do, and that's understandable, right? He only has a certain amount of time with people. He to be clear, he didn't say that, but I haven't gotten responses back, and I think I'm just too small. Would be my hypothesis. It doesn't mean it's right, but let's see. Again, I can't. That's an area where if you stray outside the narrative, your channel will be shut down. So I think you can probably figure out what I think without me saying anything further. I'm not going to cop to it. I'm not going to comment on personal life or philosophy or anything like that. But he has interesting theories, and I'll kind of leave it at that. But he's also a case of if you're getting too close to target on something, your life can get destroyed. So I think he's an example to folks about just be careful what you do and say at all times. Again, I'm not going to say anything more because that's a dangerous, dangerous topic. All right. Yeah. Now, if you join Patreon, I can speak more extensively about it because it's not on the internet. It's just on a Zoom, and the Chinese don't care. They don't care what you say, which is oddly enough that the American government does, which is absurd to me. But the Chinese don't care what you say. Oh no! I don't know what happened with that guy. I don't. Yeah, that guy was. I think his name was like James Yu or something like that. And it was that guy whose house in Arlington. Something happened. Anyway, just so you know, like the way things are portrayed for people who say controversial things, the official narratives are almost always wrong, right? So particularly narratives supported by whoever's currently in power. I'm not saying they're always wrong, but they're generally always wrong. And the more ridiculous they are, the more likely it's just a deliberate sabotage campaign of sorts, where not necessarily by government, by people who hate you, right? So I'd rather not weigh into that into kind of those waters. Where I stand is I'll talk to anybody. I like to present arguments as they are, and I let the people make it up, right? Like I wasn't into that MH370 thing, for example. Like I'm just not into that thing. But because enough people wanted me to do something on it, I did. And I'm glad I did. But again, I'm not like I wasn't there. I don't have direct knowledge of the situation, so I don't have a strong opinion either way. I'll present the evidence, let people see the evidence. I'll ask questions, and then people can decide if it's real or not real. I mean, is that the name of a channel, or is that an actual name? Anyone? Okay. I mean, we're solidly in the Q&A. I'm just making it official. So where are we? So look, I grew up Catholic. Look, they're real. I mean, I don't know if they're fallen angels or not, but there's certain entities out there that do these things. And they are susceptible to certain rites in different, like every religion has some form of, I don't know what every, but most religions have some form of exorcism, right? And again, when I talked to Dr. Thigpen, I mean, he's been in the room, he's experienced these things. Like this stuff is real. It's rare. It's much rarer than you would think. But the thing that worried me, well, not worried me, but concerned me a little bit is it was used to be rare enough that they would only train people in those rites in a school in the Vatican in Rome. And now they've had to create schools in the United States because there's enough of a demand for that sort of a thing. So what their origin is, or the Catholic Church, I don't know if they're fallen angels. I don't know. I don't know what to believe on that sort of stuff. But there are certain entities that behave in a certain way and that attack people or latch onto people in a certain way that have been documented for thousands of years. And and there's lots of other ways that they can, the existence of curses and things like that. Look, I'm a science-based guy, and I just think there's stuff about the nature of reality that we don't fully understand. And there may be scientific explanations for these beings, but yeah, they're real. I mean, and if you act as if they're not and do some stuff, you can let this kind of stuff in. So I know it sounds silly and crazy, but when I talk to somebody who's been in the room and seen this stuff, and this guy, like Dr. Thigpen, is not like some schmuck off the streets, right? The guy went to Yale undergrad. He's got a PhD from Emory University, and he's a theological scholar, particularly on the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church uses him to consult on exorcisms. Again, this is after going through testing someone's physiological conditioning, their mental health, and just kind of ruling out every other, chemicals in the house, mushrooms in the backyard, whatever. And after ruling all that stuff out, yeah, I have another one coming up that's really good too. But yeah, I really like the man. I think he's a good man. Like he's honestly like and he's a very religious man. He's not ostentatiously religious, but he converted from the Pentecostal faith to Catholicism. Actually, no, I think he grew up as a Pentecostal. He was an atheist for a while, and then he had an experience of with kind of a demonic entity himself, and that that kind of convinced him he needed to do something. So okay, yeah, I'll take a look. Alien Protocols. I'll take a look at that. Thank you, Secret Leader. By the way, that's such an awesome name. I love that name. It's just it's creepy and awesome at the same time. Yeah, I think all this stuff is connected in different ways. I think the nuts and bolts people are right about a lot, but I think there's also a non-physical aspect to all this stuff. Interesting. Where did you hear about that? I never heard of that. Same thing with the Santilli telescope. I mean, is there like, is that legit, or is that like, is that like the Red Light Demons episode that we did? I don't know if that's legit, and we very clearly stated that, like, it could be real, it might not be real. But the first question I always try to ask is like, what unit is this, right? And I think we were both pretty clear that it could be an apocryphal story. But there might be some truth related to it too. If you look through certain frequency spectrums, you might see things that you normally wouldn't otherwise. So, but yeah, I'm curious about the Santilli telescope and the other one that you mentioned, which I'm just going to put it up again. All right, let me. All right, I'm going to look up the Vatican one first. Okay. It just says the Vatican Secret Telescope. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Okay, there might be something to it because the first hit that I got was the Lucifer Telescope conspiracy. So if Google is throwing this stuff up at me, yeah, you should all look it up. It's just it's complicated. Let me look up Santilli telescope. Oh, this is like a Bloomberg thing. All right, our apologies. Unable to find the page you're looking for. That's convenient. This is ResearchGate 20. So there's a paper. All right, so I'm just going to read this out loud. By using telescopes with concave lenses, known as Santilli telescopes, trademark and patented pending by the U.S. publicly traded company, Thunder Energies Corporation, we review, this is just the abstract, we review preceding evidence for their apparent existence of antimatter galaxies, antimatter asteroids, and antimatter cosmic rays. Independently from these astrophysical detections, we present for the first time evidence for the apparent existence of entities in our terrestrial environment that are solely visible via telescopes and concave lenses, while being invisible to our eyes and to conventional Galileo telescopes with convex lenses, which entities leave dark images in the background of digital cameras attached to Santilli telescopes. These entities are here. These entities are here called invisible terrestrial entities of the first kind, ITE-1, or dark ITE. We then present also for the first time evidence of the apparent existence in our terrestrial environment of additional entities that are also visible to telescopes with concave lenses while being invisible to our eyes, and to our conventional telescopes with convex lenses, which entities leave bright images in the background of digital cameras. These additional entities are here called invisible terrestrial entities of the second kind, ITE-2, or bright ITE. As pointed out, that both types of entities generally move in the night sky over sensitive areas, and their behavior generally suggests unauthorized surveillance. The paper has been motivated by the significance and diversification of the collected evidence, as well as available independent confirmations that warrant systematic inspections of the sky over our sensitive civilian, industrial, and military installations via telescopes and concave lenses, so as to detect possible unauthorized surveillance. That's kind of weird. Let's see. All right, so I just looked that up. So you now all know what that is. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see one too. My guess is it's super complex in certain ways. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, Sarfati's fighting with somebody every other day, right? He was. I don't know what Sheehan said. I mean, there's some stuff that Sheehan said that kind of shocked me too, to be honest. But it wasn't. It's probably not what Sarfati. If Sheehan said anything about physics, then that would set Sarfati off for sure. But I mean, I know he was going off on Ross Coulthart because he mischaracterized his. He claims that he mischaracterized Sarfati's research in an interview on News Nation. So I'm just sharing this really quick. Oh, wow. I'll have to take a look. Oh, it is an abstract of research on something called the Santilli telescope, and they can see these entities, two types of entities, dark and bright ITEs. It's called something terrestrial entities, or that's what it is, invisible terrestrial entities, using concave lens telescopes instead of convex lens telescopes. Don't know what to make of it, but that's what we're talking about. Oh, so in terms of like something that Sheehan recently said, it might have been on one of the multiple podcasts, etc. There's people who are upset about eminent domain, and one of the things that Jacques Vallée talked about is like, he's sometimes at significant expense. He's acquired a lot of just pieces of debris and things like that from alleged UAP crash sites. And there was an eminent domain provision in the UAP amendment. And his concern is like, what is the government gonna like break into my house and like take all my stuff? That's messed up. Like it's not okay. And that's kind of my view of eminent domain. So like if the government granted the technology to Lockheed, eminent domain it all day, take it. It wasn't theirs to begin with. But if Lockheed Martin spent $10 million, went to the Kalahari Desert with an expedition, excavated a UAP craft from 10 million years ago on their own dime, that's theirs. That's not the government. Like they can't own it. That's BS. That's bullshit. Right. But what Sheehan was saying was like, it belongs to the world. All the people of the world deserve it. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, you're going to share this with the Russians and the Chinese? Come on. Like, I understand that world peace and kumbaya is a good thing to aspire to, but I live in the real world. And in the real world, you have to be cautious about this stuff. I think you should have programs where you share some of the materials with scientists, but the stuff that's sensitive, you can't just put it out on a server somewhere and, let some, Hamas terrorist use the technology to develop a gravity bomb, right? Something that just like creates like an intense gravity well and sucks everything up, a mini black hole and destroys everything within, 200 kilometer radius. Right? I don't know. I'm just making this up, but like you're dealing with some dangerous stuff here. Like, calm down. I just the slippery slope it implies. Like I could just come into your house and just take something that you invested your own resources to acquire. So anyway, that's the one thing he stated that kind of I'm super favorable on Danny Sheehan, but there's certain ideas that he has that are kind of like, whoa, back off. No. We live in America here. Private property is like, it is a underpins not only American philosophy with John Locke, but also like British like this is the Western world, man. Private property is like close to a sacred right. We're not socialists here. We are not communists here. We don't, allow people to just come in and take our stuff. Okay. Unless our stuff was granted to us by the government, in which case, take away. So anyway. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going through. Yep, you're welcome, Chris. Just intuition. Yep. I like that one. That's a good one. Oops, what is it? Okay. Yeah, I read that, and that report was alarming. I don't believe it because it's so insane. But there was something that was put out there that says that we reverse engineered some of this stuff, the propulsion technology, and strapped it onto a freaking nuke so that it can reach Russia or China in less than 20 minutes. Like, why would you do that? That's just, I mean, if you had technology like that, you could be sending probes to the asteroid belt and mining and bringing back, your robotic probes. You bring back pure, gold, platinum, all sorts of like precious metals and things like that you could mine from those asteroids, and you could solve the resource problem in less than a decade, on planet Earth. So what would your first application be to attach nuclear missiles to it? That's not only dumb, it's moronic. Like, I don't think, I mean, a lot of our decision makers are pretty dumb, but that's exceptionally stupid. That's like Mike Turner, Congressman Mike Turner, stupid. Yeah, that's definitely possible. Every time I reach out to Travis Taylor, he never responds. And we share a publisher and all this stuff. But he's not responsive. So my gut tells me you're right. Yeah, I need to have him back on. Like, I was worried I bring him on too much because he always says yes. Like, he's one of the kindest people I know, and I don't want to overstay my welcome. Like, I feel, because he never says no. Like, he always says, yeah, of course. And I want to be respectful of his time and things like that. But it has been long enough that I could probably get him back on. We'll see. I can give him a little bit more time. I still need one more person to interview for this month, because I have, I try to do 8 to 10 interviews a month. So I try to do or not interviews, but episodes. So I try to have 2 episodes a week, and I kind of I need 8, this particular month. So I need one more person to interview, and then I'll be finished for at least recording for December. And I think I have 3 more episodes to process. 2 are already posted, ready to go. You'll see them next week. So, I just try to get ahead, because the problem is if you don't stay about a month ahead, it can get pretty hectic, where you're not sleeping and stuff like that. And I like to get these things done early. So anyway, and then the hardest part is just getting people lined up to interview at the right time. but it is what it is. All right. What other questions do folks have? Can you all hear that in the background? Like all that background noise? No? I hope not. Let's see. All right, that's right. What other guests do people want to see? He's quiet tonight. I mean, I'm doing this a little bit early. The reason I am, though, is I'm just trying to get everything out for. Oh, here we go. It's coming through loud. All right, hold on. Let me see how I can do this. All right, hopefully that works. Let's see. No, I don't think I have that particular station. So it's on TV. No, it's just my son is playing something extremely loud. Let me see. There's so much suspension of disbelief in those kinds of stories that I haven't read. Look, I haven't read the book, but I have mixed feelings about it. Like some people swear by it; they think it's really impressive. I can look at it through a number of lenses. Could it be real? Sure. The other thing that did cross my mind, and I'm not saying it was, but sometimes I think it's could potentially be an intelligence operation because the fundamental story tends to be very anti-establishment, and anti-authority and things like that, and that's a good thing for the Chinese Communist Party to push in the United States. That doesn't mean they are, but it's a possibility, right? It's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read it. If I read it, maybe I would be. I just haven't had time. There's a lot of elements to it that require you to kind of believe a lot. Let's see. Interesting. Do they know that they're grays though? Or do they just incarnate that way? And then they find out later. Do I feel have some teeth? What do you mean by have some teeth? And I'm guessing which contactees, I think you probably meant to write, but do I feel have some teeth? What do you mean by that? Hold on for a second. I got to turn that off. It's driving me crazy too. I'll be right All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Hopefully I solved that problem. Again, it's all about belief versus knowledge. Do I believe that they felt that they experienced those stories? Yes. Were they really taken, or was it kind of some sort of astral projection, something like that? No idea. But I believe that they experienced something for sure. In terms of who I think is the most interesting story, would be Terry Lovelace, because he actually has like a structure in his knee. It's like this made out of his own bone, but it's like a floral pattern. And he showed it to me on an X-ray. He's also had weird things happen with his devices, where he would, his pressure sensor on his iPhone was in his pocket. He kind of would imply that it levitated, he levitated, up above his roof, through his roof, somehow dematerialized or something like that. But I don't know how you can get an iPhone to do that without hacking into it or something. He gave it to Lou Elizondo and never seen his iPhone again. So, but I think he has a compelling case. Interesting. Yeah, that's one thing I have never been able to do, at least consciously. I've never been able to achieve doing that. And I've tried at various points my entire life, and it's something I've never been able to consciously do. That doesn't mean it can't be done. I mean, you have the Monroe Institute that could do all this stuff. Yeah, and the channeling stuff, I'm not sure. I haven't really interviewed anybody like that just yet, because I don't know. Some of it sounds a little crazy, to be honest, like people talking about Arcturians and Palladians and all this stuff. I'm not there yet. I'm going to need a little bit more comfort in those sorts of things. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious in my skepticism when I approach those topics. Hey, Rain Cry 527. Good day. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dembski, he's a little bit more difficult in terms of figuring out what that is. Let's see. All right, Rain Cry. All right. What do people want me to talk about? Because this could be a short one. I don't know. It's up to you. It's up to you. At least the sound stopped. At least you don't have to hear all that like iPad craziness. Nothing? What are y'all doing for Christmas or the holidays? Hanukkah and whatever else people do. The winter solstice. The UAP legislation, I think they have until December 21st to keep that alive. But again, this eminent domain thing, I don't know why on earth they put that in there. It's almost as if Chuck Schumer wanted it to fail. That's what it feels like. Hey, like I can, it's kind of like a genius move where, because he gets more money from the defense industry than anybody else in Congress, apparently. So it's a genius move, because what you do is you put this provision in that's a poison pill, right? You can't accept the provision without it just blowing the whole thing up, and then sends it to the House and says, look, I supported all this stuff. And then Chicken Hawk Mike Turner, kind of comes in and does the bidding of his masters, and ends up, Chuck Schumer looks like gold, and the Democrats look like gold, and the Republicans look like the bad guys. Like Chuck Schumer, that guy's a smart dude. He knows the score. He knows what he's doing. The only way you can predict what Chuck Schumer's going to do is you follow the money, and the money says that he's doing what he's been instructed to do. Right? He's going to make sure he's going to do something with this bill so it doesn't happen. Again, this is just my opinion. I used to work for a company that Schumer was attacking, and they basically funded his, the company had a PAC, and they funded his election campaign. And then Chucky just went away. He just disappeared. He suddenly wasn't interested in attacking us anymore. So, politicians for the most part are scumbags. So the way that you can predict what their actions are going to be is just follow the money. Burchett is probably one of the only counter examples of that. The rest, just if you want to know what they're going to do, don't listen to what they say. Never listen to what they say. Just look at who's funding their campaigns, and whoever puts the most money in their campaign is going to be where they vote. So anyway, just an opinion. I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying but like Schumer's a smart guy, Let's see. No. Can you put that link in the comments, if possible? So, yeah, Devil's Tower. All right, Chris. I hope you have a fantastic holiday. I don't, those things, that German stuff, man. Krampus, that is some scary stuff. They get into it too. That is scary stuff. Huh. I didn't know that, but I'm not a fan of that guy. I don't. I mean, if you all saw my video, I just went nuts. In terms of just, I interviewed his independent Michael Harbaugh, who was his independent, an independent candidate who's going to run against him. You just got to tell people about this stuff, man. It's just, you can't. Uh-oh. That's weird. Chester's trying to comment, but he's not getting anything in. Oh, man. This is interesting. So I'm going to post what Chester Hunter tried to say and got booted off or something. And he just mentioned one person in particular. So I'm going to share what he just shared verbatim, because it's interesting. All right, it cut my thing into two, but Yeah, Chester, that is weird. He does have all these impossible synchronicities. By the way, folks who get into this topic also start to experience that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, Chester can tell a story about that. I interviewed a guest who just mentioned his name, and I'm like, "Is it Chester Hunter?" And she's like, "Yeah." How did you know? And there was something else too. There was related synchronicity. So, I'll sound like a tinfoil hat guy if I say any more. So I'm just going to keep it in the keep it. I mean, it's not, again, it could just be complete randomness, and it can easily be explained away by conventional things, but it's very synchronistic. Yeah, I mean, have you watched the news? We got a war in between Russia and Ukraine. We got war in Gaza. If Xi Jinping decides to take advantage of next year's election in the United States, might be a good time to roll the dice in Taiwan. We have inflation in the U.S. Somebody who did a book, I can't remember the guy's. It might be like the rise and fall of like great empires or something like that. But whenever the interest that a government has to pay exceeds its defense budget, generally you have a higher probability of that civilization or government fracturing from internal dissolution. So, and we're getting pretty close to that. So I think the reason there's a lot of people, or the perception that there's a lot of entities, people, NHIs, whatever you want to call it, is that we're undergoing some sort of species intraspecies transformation, expansion in consciousness, or we're about to wipe ourselves out, and they're trying to prevent that. So I don't know. It could be any number of those things. Chester, thank you for sending me the email. That's how I was able to get your question in. The reason that it's intriguing that and by the way, thank you very much for the super sticker. I very much appreciate it. I appreciate you, brother. Oh, we're okay. I thought he went away for a second. Okay. Yeah, like anything I say about this is pure speculation. And it could just be the usual randomness of let's see what Stard says. It could just be sheer randomness, right? And it depends on what your view of the nature of reality is, right? Are we and your conceptions of time, like, is time simultaneous? If so, is free will a thing, or is the universe deterministic? Is Earth a school? Do we only have one life? Is there a non-physical existence of humanity? Does consciousness exist beyond death? There's a lot of things to unpack there. And to be clear, I've never had any unambiguous experiences with the phenomenon. None. There was one time back in August 2022 where I saw like a bright orb-looking thing about the size of a basketball kind of fly over my house and off into the horizon. But it happened so fast that it took my mind a while to process it. So when I think of alternatives of what it could be, it was too close to be an asteroid or a meteorite, because if it was, we wouldn't be here right now. It moved too quickly to be a drone. It was definitely not an aircraft or helicopter because I didn't hear anything. And the only thing I can think of as a mundane explanation is if there was some teenager standing with a high-powered flashlight in front of my house and shined it into my backyard and moved on, that could have replicated whatever that was. So again, it's ambiguous. I don't know what that was. Could it have been an orb? Sure, absolutely. Could it have been a teenager with a high-powered spotlight in front of the house? Yeah. So that has been the strongest kind of potential experience with the phenomena that I've had. But the other stuff that has happened to me has been more easily explainable if you take incident by incident, right? So you all know about the owl that landed in my backyard. In fact, I could probably bear with me. I'll just show you an example of that because I have a billion pictures of it. But my kind of, if the stuff that I'm really trying to look for and account for, if I do that, wow, this is crazy. Yeah, so Chester's still here, but his comments aren't coming through. Chester, are you doing this through Facebook or are you doing it through YouTube? Anyway, while he's gonna have to answer me through email. That's how ridiculous this is. Wow, this thing is not moving fast, I'll tell you that. Okay, it's not quite what I want. There we go. That's a good one. All right. So all right. Y'all can see that, right? So I'm within 5 feet. Like I was able to walk up to within 5 feet of this owl. That's a great horned owl, massive owl. And it did not fly away. It just kind of sat there and hung out, was not afraid. I got 1,000 photos of it. Again, it's just, could it be coincidence? Sure. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I don't want that either. There we go. It's better. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, but who lived on Jupiter? That's the weird part about it. Is it odd behavior though? I don't I've never been able to approach an owl before, but I've never seen an owl like that close up. He just landed on my back fence, like right in the middle of the yard. And I kind of, for lack of a better word, said a little prayer, like, please stay there so I can get a picture of you. And then I approached and I was able to get within about 5 feet. He flexed to almost fly away and then I backed off and then he stayed. So Oh, Merry Christmas, man. All right, let me see if I got anything else. Yeah, so Chester's still on. He's getting blocked. Oh, Chris, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. I really appreciate it. You have a great holiday too. I told Mike Clellan about it too. So, and this is, obviously after this happened on September 28th. And again, the only reason I remember that is I was talking to Chester about it. So, I always had like the 28th has some sort means probably again, the same sort of thing. Like, I had a raven land on my balcony on April 28th in 2020. This is September 28th, 2023. So it's, I don't know, maybe 28 means nothing. I don't know. Again, I could be looking for things. But anyway, thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. You have a Merry Christmas and a great holiday as well. Merry Christmas to you, Rain Cry. There you go. Chester's back. Chester's back. All right. Yeah, it's odd that the one comment that got it not to work was the one with Chris Robinson. There's something about Chris Robinson that somebody doesn't want us to like. I had never heard of him until I saw New Thinking Aloud. I'm like, how have I never heard of this guy? So then I interviewed him, and he's got a series of amazing stories. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Let's see. I have a story about how that happened. All right, this is a weird story. So just and I can confirm it. I mean, I would have to ask Danny Jones for his like cell phone records, but okay, this is a weird story. So just bear with me. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this up so I can provide context. So Danny Jones, so Jack Sarfati has this. If you interact with Jack Sarfati and he thinks you're not an idiot, he will automatically add you to this like massive email list. And on this email list, there's like Deepak Chopra. Like I'm not joking. Like Kirk Jaimungal. Who else? Gary Nolan is on there. Louis Elizondo. Like all these guys are on there. Travis Taylor's on there. And he just blasts things out to everybody. And somehow Danny Jones got his email address. And if you correspond with Jack Sarfati, just assume that anything you write could be blasted out to a massive audience, not massive, but like an audience of these people. Okay, so just be advised. So anyway, he sends a request saying, "Hey, can you fly to Florida? I'd love to have you on my show." And Sarfati just like starts dunking on him. Right? It's just like, the master does not come to the pupil. The pupil comes to the master. Like he writes stuff like that. So that's why Danny Jones did his episode, the Sarfati episode in San Francisco. He flew to Sarfati. So anyway, when that happened, like it was bad. Like, he just like it was bad. So I said, I finally had Danny Jones' email. So I was just like, hey, you should interview Dr. Morehouse. He's amazing. So that's how the Morehouse interview happened. So right before the Morehouse interview, Danny calls me because he's just doing background work. He's just trying to understand, Dave Morehouse and remote viewing and all that stuff. So he just asked me a ton of questions. And then let me step back. So just remember, let me put a thumbtack in this attack into this discussion, and I'll come right back to it. If you look at my posts, I don't remember what time of month this was, but it was certainly sometime in September or August, maybe July. I put a post about one of my dreams. Okay. And in the dream, and I'll just recount it here. This was 1 or 2 days before I talked to Danny. Okay. On this phone call. In this dream, I was at my old grade school, and Andrew Bustamante, I have weird dreams, was in a little bird helicopter, and there was some pilot in there, and they were trying to strafe me at my old grade school in the parking lot. And there was this big red Ford pickup truck, like Ford 150, that as they were coming after me, I threw a stack of paperwork at the rotor. It got caught up in the rotor, and the little bird crashed and exploded. And I got in the Ford F-150 for protection. I don't know. And then I kind of woke up. Okay. So just remember the Andrew Bustamante aspect of that call. So, and for the folks who don't know who Andrew Bustamante is, he's the guy who's on Beyond Skinwalker, former Air Force missile launch officer, I think, and a CIA guy, right? And then he's on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. He's he's that guy there. So Danny Jones interviews him frequently. So anyway, after I finished talking to Danny Jones about about Dr. Morehouse, I said, you really should interview Chris Bledsoe. And here, let me just do something real quick, because I should be telling this story up close and personal. And Danny's like, whoa, what's going on here? Synchronicities, it's crazy. What's going on? And I said, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Synchronicities? And he said, you're not the first person to recommend Chris Bledsoe today. I was just talking to my friend, and he said the same thing. And I said, well, Danny, who's your friend? As you probably all guessed it, Andrew Bustamante. So call it a synchronicity, call it a precognitive dream. But why would I dream about Andrew Bustamante out of the blue for no reason? For absolutely no freaking reason. And then hear his name in this context 2 days later or 1 day later. I'd have to check my phone. But again, check my post. It's up there. I recount the dream. It's recorded. It's booked. So I'm not making this up. So that's kind of, Bustamante definitely had more to do it than I did, but that's kind of how that Bledsoe interview happened. So anyway, just another weird story. So again, could that all just randomly happened? Random chance? Absolutely. Total, like within the realm of possibility. Slim possibility, but within the realm of possibility. Yeah, the Hal Hovmeyer or whatever that was the most interesting part about it. Yeah, it's weird. But again, check me on it. Check me and make sure I'm not making it up. Right? Just check. By the way, Danny has no idea that I had that dream. But you can all confirm it by looking at the post. Because I didn't mention it. It was just kind of weird. Yeah. Well, there's another red Ford 150 thing. But it's less. I had a conversation with somebody else later that day, and there was something that he was talking about with a red F-150, right? So but again, I can't remember quite what it was, and I'm not gonna like, unless I can remember, I'm not gonna speculate on what happened. Yeah, again, like this is the kind of stuff that happens to me. This happens constantly, but it's like all plausibly deniable, right? It's just like, oh, you're just like my wife just makes like she's like you're just reading into this. You're just whatever. You guys are killing me. Okay. So Robinson sent me an email before the interview. Again, I'm just reporting. Before he accepted the interview, he said that the entities that allow him to do his precognitive dream, he asked if he should talk to me. He should interview me. He should be in my show. And he said that he was told, give him any and all the time he wants or needs. And they said something to the effect he's genuine or something like that. And that's it. After the interview, he said he had a dream where he was with all these people, but he was giving me a box. And I asked him what was in the box. He's like, I don't know, but I'm supposed to like pass something on to you. I should say like pass some information that's in the box onto you, whatever that means. So again, I'm just relating a story, and that's it. That's all I have to say about that. But it's weird. It's definitely weird. Yeah, I can see everything, Chester. I mean, as you know, so it's working. That's interesting. Maybe something's wrong with the browser. Who knows? It could just be, I mean, if I had to just make up a reason, it could be that if you vibrate, like if all the atoms in your body vibrate at a much higher frequency, you could pass through physical matter, right? If it was vibrating at a much lower, frequency. So if you just think about like if there's like a wave and you're like a faster wave and you can kind of pass through something, but I don't know. It's like if there's a fan that's moving super fast, but you shoot something through much faster, right? It'll get through the blades because relative to you, the blades would be slowing down, and you could easily pass through it. So maybe they've come up with a technology that allows matter to vibrate more quickly, or maybe a quantum tunneling application at the macro scale. I have no idea. But I would imagine a civilization a million years more advanced than us would have figured it out by now. Yeah. Anyway, like I'm just reporting, right? I'm just reporting. And yeah, I don't know why, Chester. I just keep it on, I would just use your phone, Chester. Anyway, I'm just reporting. Like I can confirm the post because you all can see that I never took it down about the dream. I don't know if I still have Danny's number because I don't know if I recognize it. Because I would just I'll just get like a random number and then it's Danny. So but yeah, it was just weird, a little weird. Could still be a coincidence. I would never rule that out, but it's weird. And this is weird too, like this big giant owl in my backyard. But it's an owl. It's a picture that I took. So anyway, let me remove that. Okay. All right. That was a detour I didn't expect to go on, but that's a flavor of kind of some of the stuff that's been happening. So I would say I've had, I'll tell you another one. So I've had 2 very likely uh-oh. Oh, come on. Can you all hear me still? I love how StreamYard just kind of craps out sometimes. All right, I'm going to keep talking and assume that you can still hear me. Because right now I've like lost control of StreamYard, and there's no reason it should be doing this right now. Usually it comes back. Let me see. I'm still going to keep talking, even though you might not be hearing. I might just go to my... Okay. Okay, this thing still says live. It's going to make me fight to find this thing. Okay, you can still hear me. All right, that is good. Can you still hear me? Okay. All right, you can. Let's see if I just turn off the sound here and then just hit play, and then I can see if you guys are commenting. All right. I mean, this is annoying, but I think I lost visual, but I can still talk. So that's fine. Oh, those posts did not show up in your phone? Huh. Well, I didn't show the post. The post is actually on my YouTube channel. So I didn't show it on the video at all. So wow, this is really unsat in terms of what StreamYard's doing right now. So let's see if I can it's almost as if Chrome just went. All right, you might lose me for a second, but I'm gonna have to force quit Chrome. Well, actually, let me just, before I do that, just let me see what's going on with it's almost as if somebody doesn't want me talking about this stuff. All right, I'm gonna force quit Chrome, and then I'm not gonna end the live stream. So just bear with me for a second while I try to get this thing started. All right, I'm back. Yeah, yeah. It's and I half buffered, huh? Yeah, I quit. I had to just get out of Chrome, and then this is how I'm back. What was I gonna? Okay, so I would say I've had two potentially precognitive experiences. Okay, dreams. Okay, I told you that one. You can decide whether or not that's precognitive. The second one, let's see. Okay. What was I going to say? All right. So the second one was I had a dream about the philosophy, and I'm not going to say what this person was called because I'm afraid it'll trigger something. But I had a dream about the philosophy of Ted Kaczynski. If people know who Ted Kaczynski is, which makes no sense. I'm not like a proponent of. I mean, the guy was killed people. Like he's a bad dude, right? But he had this kind of philosophy that he put out while he was doing all that stuff. Anyway, why I'm dreaming about this guy's philosophy makes absolutely no sense. So I woke up the next morning, promptly forgot about it, and I was looking at Twitter, and Ted Kaczynski was trending on Twitter. So I'm like, oh yeah, I had that weird dream about his philosophy. What was that about? So I clicked on it, and he had died that day. So these two experiences have happened in the last year. So it's almost as if the more you start looking into these topics, the more coincidences and synchronicities that you start to experience. Now, I forget what the psychological term, it might be confirmation bias, right? So part of that is just going to be me looking for things, right? So like I'll look down at my watch and it'll say 11:11, like stuff like that happens a lot too. But again, confirmation bias is a real thing, and you can't assume that this stuff is not just based on pure chance. Okay, so I want to leave that open because sometimes when we want to see things, we see things, right? Or we notice the things that we want to notice. So we have this confirmation bias. So I want to fully acknowledge it could be that, but it was weird. That was two. The third one, I'm not sure if it was precognitive or not because it hasn't happened yet. But I'm going to say it here because there's no reason I should have this dream. It makes no sense. And you could also easily dismiss it as, oh, you're just analytically projecting something that is could happen. Okay, so when I say that, what I mean is I had a dream about Mitch McConnell. Okay, Senator Mitch McConnell. And in that dream, he's in his senatorial office and he's wrapping these human-like figurines, kind of beige colored, I think. It's been a while, in wax paper and stuffing them into all these empty boxes in his office as if he's packing up. And he's kind of annoyed and pissed off. So okay, so that's the dream. That's it. That's all I got. Okay, that's all I got. So let's separate the dream from the interpretation. If that is a precognitive dream, my interpretation would be that he is going to step down under pressure from his party, his senatorial position, before he runs again in 2027. Again, that's my interpretation. You heard the dream. It could just be a weird imagination thing. I don't know, but I'm just putting it out so that if it comes, and I may have even written that down in a post in the comments or the community section of my YouTube channel. Can't remember if I did or not, but it hasn't happened yet. Might never happen, but I would say there's two that I would classify as precognitive dreams. That's a potential potential one that could be true. Anyway, just leaving it like that, and interpret it what you will. This guy could be, this Sean guy is probably nuts. He's nuts. He's out of his freaking mind. Or there could be something to it. I don't know. Let's see. What else do we got? Yeah, I'm sure I just half buffered. I don't play uncertainty, man. I don't like a physicist or somebody who's running scientific experiments would discount all this stuff because it wasn't done under experimental conditions. So I get it. Yeah, I should actually invite him back on and do another interview with him about this kind of stuff. Yeah, I probably should do that because I'm pretty sure he would say yes because I think we got along pretty well. So, I mean, there's some weird stuff. Like he saw all this stuff happen. He had a dream in early September, and he saw all the drones and stuff like that flying over Gaza, and like he saw the whole Gaza thing. And he's been posting this stuff on Twitter, so it's not, it's not like private conversation stuff. So, I think he also sees something happening in the Bosphorus, which is the entryway into the Black Sea between the U.S. and Russia, maybe Turkey, and something related to the Suez Canal. So just remember that. Again, he's just been posting this on Twitter. Let's see. Yeah, it's live. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, now I'm officially cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So it's out there. Take it or leave it. I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying it's precognitive. I'm just saying it seems like it was those two particular instances were precognitive. And that's why I was starting to write down these dreams in the community tab, because I wanted to have evidence in case something. Whenever I have a dream that doesn't make sense, when I dream about somebody there's no reason for me to be dreaming about, that tends to be the marker for me that it's got nothing to do with me, and it's well, not nothing to do with me, but it has like a precognitive element to it, right? I mean, I've had other weirder dreams, but they're more interesting. Yeah. And I think the second one, I think the second one was resolved too. The third one is definitely not resolved, and it might not even be precognitive, but it has that marker. It has that aspect, which is if I dream about someone that I'm not thinking about actively, out of the blue for no reason, for no particular reason has anything to do with what's going on in my life at the time. That's usually a good marker. At least that's why I would put the Mitch McConnell dream in that category, because it fits. Like, why would I dream about Ted Kaczynski? Why would I dream about Mitch McConnell? Why would I dream about Andrew Bustamante? And it's never gone. It just like sits there. That's weird. That's super weird. Anyway, like what inspired me to write about these dreams was my interview of Eric Wargo. I did 2 interviews of him. If you haven't watched it, definitely watch it. He wrote this book called Time Loops, and he's a big proponent of recording your dreams. Huh. What do you mean by McCarthy? Oh, I see. Congressman McCarthy, who just announced that he was going to. Yeah, see, I don't put this stuff together sometimes. Sometimes I put connections together when it's not related to my life, but when it's related to like something that's happened to me. That's interesting. So for folks who aren't following political news. Not that you should be following political news because it's all a farce anyway. But the former House leader McCarthy, a Republican, I think announced today or yesterday that he was not going to seek re-election. He's leaving Congress. And then Chester's just saying it's potentially a portend of what's going to happen to McConnell. Yeah. Yeah. And not that I recall. They only started happening when I started writing down dreams that were kind of out of the ordinary, like not anxiety dreams, not stuff about me. When it's about somebody else, it usually is a marker. The MC guy and the Adams guy also connects. Say more. I don't know what you mean by the Adams guy or the Mick guy. Yeah, Lynn Buchanan reported the same thing. He said they'll notice you, but they kind of don't do anything. They just kind of know you're there and just continue doing what they're doing. Oh. Interesting. That's weird. Yeah, MCs. Yeah. But in the dream though, it was distinctly McConnell. It was distinctly McConnell. I'm not gonna take a win on precog for this. Not yet. It's got to be McConnell. If it's not McConnell, it doesn't count. Oh, Adam Wilkinson. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he got a hint, but he didn't get the full thing. What's a half wind? Oh, half win. Now I'm gonna be super rigorous about this. That doesn't count. In my book, that's not a hit. That's not a hit. It's close, but it's if I'm looking for something, it has, Yeah, I've done that. That works. That absolutely works. Yeah, if you ask a very specific question, you will get an answer. It might not make any sense, but you will get an answer. And you might not remember it too. You have to make sure that you remember what you were dreaming. So yeah, it could be. Okay, so here's, if I'm being really generous to myself and not super super harsh, maybe that was what pissed McConnell off, right? But I doubt it, because he's packing a box, so that has to. Yeah. Okay. Yes. 100%. If McConnell leaves before his time ends, then it's 100% win. It is a win. Yeah. But you're right. It could be a portent, right? It could be a portent of what's to come, i.e., that the Republican Party stuff's not working. And to be fair, the way that McConnell dealt with this UAP amendment was not great. Chester's trying to get me the win. He's trying to get me the win. Chester, we gotta be. It's gotta be black and white with me. Otherwise, it doesn't count. I don't see gray. I just see black and white. So it's gotta be. we got to be 100%. Now, if there's another way to interpret that dream such that it's fulfilled, then I'm willing to like take that. And I tried to do it with McCarthy, but it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite get me there because it could get to McConnell being pissed, but it doesn't get to McConnell packing stuff into bags or into boxes. Although you could say that McCarthy was one of the figurines. See, like you can convince yourself. I can convince myself of anything, right? That's the problem with this stuff. Yeah. But to be clear, I couldn't resolve what the figurines were. So it's ambiguous now. You could argue it's an ambiguous hit. You could argue, but I wouldn't. It's not. Again, it's too nuanced. It's not black enough. It's not black and white enough for me. So, all right. I probably should jump off that. There's only like 4 people, and I don't want to keep people on for much longer if they're not. I didn't intend to get into any of that, but take it for what it's worth, right? There's a lot of weird stuff like that that's been like the moment you get into some of these, you start delving into this topic, this sort of stuff starts to happen to you. Again, could it be confirmation bias? 100%, absolutely. And you kind of have to hold these two ideas constant at the same time so that you don't go off onto the off the edge and go to crazy land, right? So yeah, that's true. I think that's fair. But sometimes it takes an external stimulus to to be reminded of it. So yeah, you should all try that though. I mean, that's what Eric Wargo says. That's what inspired me to start recording some of this stuff. Anytime I had something that was slightly weird or off, or had that feeling of like this is not coming from me, sort of feeling, I would write down. I've had other things, but they're not precognitive. They're just weird, and then weird things that would, I'll tell you another one. But again, just take this as a grain of salt because it could just be pure coincidence, pure chance, and you could easily discount it. Okay, so let's just start with that. But one night I had a dream of a, and I may have written this one down too. There was a 3-winged hawk just kind of hovering in the sky, and I just felt protected by it. And that's about it. And the next day I kind of looked it up, like just looked through different religious traditions to see what angels are represented by. There's nowhere in the Catholic, which is my tradition, or any other Christian tradition where you have 3-winged angels. You have like 6 winged angels, stuff like that. But in the Islamic tradition, there are 3-winged angelic entities of some sort. So I just leave that. That is what it is. Take it whatever it is. But the next day, the front door blew open, and that happens. Not all the time, but it happens from time to time when it gets windy. So that's, again, could be pure coincidence. So I get up to close it, and as I'm going out to close it, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to walk outside my front door and just take a look outside really quickly. And the instant I do that, a red-tailed hawk flies 10 feet over my head, kind of like waves, like it just fluttered its wings twice, and then lands on top of a tree up the hill, and you could see the redwood tree shake from its weight, and just like perches there and just looks down. Again, just a weird timing thing, but when door blew open, I go outside and there's a hawk right away the day after this thing. So again, not precognitive, but just weird. But again, again, I'm looking for this stuff. So 90% confirmation bias. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm either on my way or I'm on my way to Crazy Town. So again, you have to, I feel like you have to balance the right and left parts of your brain in trying to maintain some sense of stability and groundedness, right? So you guys can judge if you think those stories, they're not BS, they actually happened. I will fight to the death on that one. But if you think it's coincidence and stuff like that, I'm not gonna question that, because that's fair. It's totally fair. Um, I require more. I require more in terms of, like, I'm not a subtle person, and subtlety, like, I need more evidence. Like, I'm not going to go on the Maury Povich show and claim that I'm a precog, right? Um, but I would tell these experiences, and people can make that decision. And that's why do people always, like, join like 2 hours into this mofo? It's not. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's oh yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, probably. Probably. I need to be more intentional about it, though. I also tend to get it when I go to bed with a question. Like, I'll ask a question, and then I'll get an answer, but I won't always get an answer about. Um, yeah, I've also run some other kind of experiments, but I'm not. The answers I've gotten, or the experiments, have been inconclusive, right? Or highly inconclusive, or not conclusive at all. But that is like talking to someone in advance and saying, "Hey, I'm going to try to visit you in your dream." And I've tried that 3 times, and every time that happens, um, I either see them, or they see me, or I'll see someone in their family, and they'll see me, but we never remember the same incident, but there will be some association between the person that I've done it 3 times. Twice I've asked for permission. The other time, um, the first time I was just curious to see if it worked, and I saw the person. But I'm not going to get into that because I don't. I'm playing with stuff I don't understand, right? So, and I don't know the person, so I don't know if I was engaging with my subconscious, or I was, actually there. We'll see. Yeah. By the way, I don't think it's just me. I think it's everybody. I think everybody has these skills in some way, and I think there's so much instability in the world right now that people are just starting to figure it out. So we'll see. And by the way, I don't know if these come from me, right? Um, could be coming from somewhere else. So, could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. But so far, everything seems to be positive, and no harm. So I'll just continue along the path, I guess. It's weird. It's totally weird. I like just because I'm also preaching to the choir too. I have to be cognizant of that. Yeah, that is correct. And I think the view you have to take is, no matter how many, like, there are people out there that you despise and absolutely loathe. If this stuff is real and it can be done, just use it to help people. Don't use it and to like to this is very subjective, but to do good in some way. Never use it to harm anybody, and just do your best with, again, if this stuff is real, be responsible with it. So yeah, it's like useless. Like the information is useless, right? Like it's not like you're going to win the lottery with it or you're going to change the world. It's more like a demonstration. Like, this is possible, and that's it. So I think I just need to be more intentional about it. I should start writing down my dream. Like, I don't write them down. I type them in on the community tab, like stuff that's a little bit more useful, because the reason I wanted to do that is I just wanted to have physical, actual evidence of me posting prior to something happening, so that it's just there. But even that kind of stuff can potentially be manipulated, right? But I would have to know somebody at YouTube to be able to change the date. And let's see. Yeah. Tibetam Dream Yoga. Yeah, basically. We're in the middle of Kumbaya. Hello, Mark. How you doing? You missed a lot of woo. You missed a lot of like woo crazy stuff. Well, I mean, it's not great. They're just stories. But all of you just try it. Just start writing. Like, I listened to Eric Wargo. I think he thinks like I do. Everybody can do this stuff. You're just not aware of it. So when you go to sleep tonight, ask yourself a question. Ask yourself, just say, tonight I want to learn X. One thing I never tried is to ask about something that I have absolutely no knowledge of. Right? Like, I don't know. How does anti-gravity work? Right? And then asking the universe or myself that question, and then seeing what kind of dream I have and just writing it down and figuring it out. But just like try things like that. A lot of times I ask broad, open-ended questions like, what's my purpose? What's my destiny? You're going to get weird stuff when you do that, and it's not going to have nothing that will come to you, at least for me. Nothing comes to me that clearly answers that question. I'll just get weird stuff. So, and then sometimes I'll just have a strange dream that I'll just write down because it's got nothing to do with me. And then it has that precognitive feel. So who knows? Yeah. Yeah, I'm still trying to get Morehouse to offer that remote viewing class because I want to take it. I also tried something else. And I told Morehouse about it. I'm not going to recount it here, but I tried an experiment, and Morehouse was like, "Yeah, that's a hit. That's a hit." But I didn't use like the full remote viewing protocol. I literally just sat down with a piece of paper, asked a question, and then just kind of wrote whatever the first thing in my head that came into my head on paper, and then asked another question, and just wrote whatever came to me without thinking. And one of the questions that I had asked, like specifically, was like, he's like, yeah. So, and it's something only he would know, Morehouse specifically, because I didn't know. All right. It might be time. Yeah, that was a crazy stream. It was a little nutso. I don't even know what that is. OAHSPE. Now I got to look it up. It just says like a new Bible. Oh, is this like this is like the Jehovah Witnesses thing? Yeah, I definitely have not read it. Oh yeah, see, I thought I fixed that. It looks like I didn't fix it. Yeah, I appreciate that, Chester. I appreciate you. All right, everyone. Have an amazing, happy holidays. I hope you are around your families and get some time to rest and relax. And I will see you all soon. So thanks again, everyone. Good night, good luck, and God bless.